There's a hierarchy in every room whether you acknowledge it or not. Power organizes itself even in silence. Titles might be unspoken, but status is always communicated. Every environment, be it a boardroom, bar, or battlefield, arranges itself around those who command attention and those who melt into the background. The powerful are not watching everyone. They don't scan the room hoping to absorb the energy of the crowd. No, they're watching two categories: the few who stand out and the many who disappear the moment they walk in. But people don't disappear because they're quiet, nor because they're shy or humble. They disappear because their presence tells the room one thing: I don't matter. Their posture, their tone, their energy broadcast habits of irrelevance. They have trained themselves to be overlooked. Machiavelli didn't write for the many. He didn't preach to the polite or comfort the invisible. He wrote for rulers, the ones who understood that dominance doesn't always raise its voice. That visibility isn't about being loud, it's about being felt. And when you radiate the wrong habits, you're not just ignored, you become invisible. To power, to opportunity, to respect, you get filtered out before you're even perceived. It starts with the first habit. You enter rooms with your energy pointed inward. When powerful people walk into a space, their awareness expands outward. They scan, assess, and command attention without a word. Their energy enters before their body does. But when a weak man enters, he collapses inward. His shoulders fold, his eyes avoid contact, his movement is uncertain. He doesn't walk into the room, he tiptoes into it, afraid to take up space. He looks down. He doesn't scan. He waits to be accepted. But no one is coming to welcome him. To the powerful, he doesn't exist. Because if you don't even value your own presence, why should anyone else? Understand this: appearances are weapons. You don't need to be loud, but you must be deliberate. If you disappear on arrival, no enemy needs to destroy you. You've done it yourself. Walking into a room is your first test. Pass it by, entering with intent. Lead with your chest. But your eyes scan with calm boldness. Your energy should radiate out, not retreat in. Don't wait to be noticed, move like you expect to be. The second habit? Speaking with apology in your tone. Even when your words are solid, your voice can betray you. Rising intonations that sound like questions, soft trailing offs, the relentless like, and sorry, these are all signals of uncertainty. And uncertainty kills credibility. Powerful people don't have time to decode your speech. They hear, I don't trust my own words. I'm asking for permission to speak. That's a red flag. Machiavelli understood that words aren't just communication, they're combat. Your tone must be measured, intentional, controlled. Not desperate, not flailing, not insecure. Speak slowly. Lower your voice. Let your words hit the ground like a gavel final. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let it hang. Let your calmness speak louder than your vocabulary. Because when you stop sounding unsure, people start listening differently. Then comes the third habit: laughing too easily. Laughter is a social signal. It says, I agree, I submit, I'm safe. But when you laugh too quickly, too often, especially when something isn't truly funny, you tell the room you're seeking favor. You're trying to belong, and the powerful see that. In fact, they test for it. A sharp comment, a sarcastic jab, something laced with disrespect. And then they wait not to see if you'll argue, but to see if you'll laugh. If you do, they mark you. You've just traded dignity for inclusion. You won't be seen as equal again. Ever. Here's what power respects: stillness, silence, ambiguity. If something disrespects you, don't laugh. Don't smirk. Don't even flinch. Go quiet. Hold the air heavy. Because when they can't read your reaction, they can't control you. And that is how power begins to shift. Fourth habit, over-explaining. You're asked a simple question. You answer, but then you keep going, explaining your reasoning, justifying your logic, offering disclaimers. Not because it's needed, but because you're insecure. You're trying to convince the room you deserve to be there. But powerful people don't narrate their thoughts like an audiobook. They speak like every word costs them something. The more you explain, the more you signal that you feel unworthy. And the more you talk, the less people listen. You think, if I explain more, they'll understand. But what they hear is, if he needs this many words, he must not be certain. Machiavelli would have said, power speaks briefly. Power implies more than it explains. Answer, then stop. Let your silence be the rest of the sentence. If they want more, they'll ask. And if they don't, your restraint just raised your value. These aren't quirks. They're invisible disqualifiers. Subconscious cues that whisper to power. This person is not ready. This one doesn't believe in himself. This one can be ignored without cost. And here's the part no one tells you. You don't get a second chance with power. The room moves fast. Perception is formed in seconds. By the time you've found your confidence, the decision's already been made. You've been categorized, skipped over, forgotten. Machiavelli knew the truth. Every room is a battlefield, not of violence, but of presence, of tone, of timing, of posture. And if you don't wield those weapons, you'll be dismissed before your ideas are even heard. But we're not done. These 4 habits are just the beginning. There are more habits sharper, subtler, and more damaging. Habits that explain why you've been overlooked, underestimated, and invisible in rooms that could have changed your life. Because here's the real sting. You were rejected. You were never seen. You were invisible. And it wasn't by accident. You trained yourself to be this way. Every time you swallowed your opinion. Every time you apologized for existing. Every time you nodded to keep the peace when you should have walked away, you carved yourself into someone forgettable. Powerful people aren't cruel. They're efficient. They don't waste energy decoding the irrelevant. They filter. And your habits told them exactly which category to put you in. But here's the good news. Habits can be broken. Presence can be rebuilt. Power isn't given, it's projected. And the moment you begin to carry yourself differently, to walk with intention, to speak with certainty, to move like your presence matters, the room changes. You stop chasing validation, and you start commanding it. Power doesn't announce itself. It filters. The powerful walk into rooms and, without conscious thought, begin scanning. They don't look for smiles or polite gestures. They look for signals. Signals that tell them who's worth engaging and who can be dismissed before a word is spoken. They unconsciously eliminate those who carry the scent of compliance, apology, or unclaimed identity. It's not cruelty, it's efficiency. Time is limited. Energy is currency. And power, by its nature, only flows toward other power. The mistake most people make is believing that being agreeable or harmless will earn them favor. It doesn't. It earns them invisibility. Because the moment you broadcast dependence, whether through your tone, posture, or actions, you disqualify yourself from the respect of powerful people. And no habit signals dependence more clearly than the 5th one. The 5th habit, waiting to be included. You sit at the table, but you don't speak unless prompted. You linger near conversations, nodding politely, hoping someone invites you in. You wait socially, professionally, emotionally for permission to participate. This is the death of presence. It's a silent confession that says, I'm not sure I belong here. Can someone else decide for me? Machiavelli warned against this kind of dependency not because it's weak, but because it outsources your identity. Waiting to be included is a subtle act of self-erasure. The powerful don't wait. They insert themselves. Not with arrogance, but with clarity. Because they understand one simple truth. Value doesn't knock. It walks in. When you wait for a signal that it's your turn, you place your agency in someone else's hands. And once you do that, it's almost impossible to get it back. The antidote? Take the turn. Steer the moment. Speak early, contribute something sharp, then go quiet. Let your words echo. You don't need to dominate the room, you only need to mark it. The hesitant are forgotten. The decisive are remembered. The sixth habit, apologizing for your standards. You have boundaries, preferences, non-negotiables. But the moment they're questioned, you retreat. You soften your stance. You feel the urge to explain why you prefer what you do, whether it's how you spend your time, who you allow into your life, or what behavior you tolerate. But here's what Machiavelli would tell you. The moment you explain your standards, you weaken them. You shift them from law to opinion. And opinions can be debated. Standards are not about morality. They are about power calibration. When you defend them, you imply they're arbitrary. When you hold them without discussion, you make them sacred. Say no without flinching. Decline without a backstory. Walk away without signaling pain. The less you explain, the more unshakable you seem. Why? Because standards enforced without apology create gravitational pull. People feel it. They adjust. Not because you demanded respect, but because you demonstrated self-respect so clearly, they had no choice. The seventh habit, overuse and praise. You've been taught that compliments build bridges, that kindness earns trust. So you say things like, "Great work," or "You're so talented," as a way to grease the social gears. You think it makes people like you? It does, but for the wrong reasons. Overpraising is a leak of power. Machiavelli would tell you, praise is a weapon, not a welcome mat. Used too often, it becomes worthless, a currency inflated into dust. Worse, it signals a need to belong, not the strength to lead. When you constantly compliment, the powerful see not generosity, but neediness. Hold your praise. Delay it. Let it cost something. Then deliver it like a reward, not a reflex. Say less and mean more. Let it be precise, rare, and earned. Because when you speak admiration with discipline, it transforms from background noise into a signal. And powerful people, they don't respond to noise. They respond to signals. The eighth habit, mirroring too much. You think mirroring helps you connect. You match their tone, their slang, their rhythm, their posture. It's subtle, you don't even realize you're doing it. But it's the fastest way to disappear. Because when you reflect someone else too well, you erase yourself. The powerful notice. They see that you've become fluid, and they stop respecting you. Why? Because unconscious mirroring screams one thing: I'll become whatever you need me to be. Just don't exclude me. And nothing kills respect faster than that. The powerful don't want clones. They want contrast. They respect solidity, someone who doesn't bend, even when it would be easier. Keep your tone, keep your cadence. Don't mimic their body language just to keep the moment smooth. Let the tension exist. Let the differences breathe. Because only people with nothing to prove can stay solid in the face of friction. And that solid presence, that creates curiosity, the precursor to respect. The ninth habit, always showing gratitude first. Gratitude is powerful. But like anything powerful, timing is everything. You walk into an interview and say, "Thank you for having me." You open a meeting with, "Thanks for your time." It sounds polite. It is polite. But it's also dangerous because when expressed too soon, it reveals a belief that you're the one receiving more than you're offering. Machiavelli would see these early thank yous as silent confessions of inferiority. A way of saying, "I'm lucky to be here. I hope you see my worth." That alone is enough to shift the power dynamic against you. Power respects parity, mutual value. So when you thank someone before you've established presence, you reduce yourself to a subordinate. Even if you're brilliant, even if you have value, you've already framed yourself as the one in debt. The solution? Delay gratitude. Establish value first. Let your presence speak. Let the conversation reveal mutual benefit. Then, only then, express appreciation. Because when you thank someone from a place of equality, it deepens the connection. When you do it from a place of need, it breaks it. Power doesn't respect what crawled in. It respects what walked in with its head high, spoke when it had something to say, and exited without asking for approval. These habits may seem small, but in rooms of power, small cues create massive divides. You think people are listening to your words? They're not. They're reading your posture, your tone, your energy, and your timing. They're reading the micro decisions you make in the first 10 seconds. And if those decisions scream compliance, apology, or dependence, they will never hear your voice no matter how smart it is. You weren't born invisible. You trained yourself to be invisible. The good news? You can train yourself out. Replace hesitation with decisive speech. Replace need with stillness. Replace apology with presence. Because in the rooms that matter, you don't rise by being accepted. You rise by being undeniable. These habits don't scream weakness. They whisper it. And those whispers are louder to the powerful than any shout. They don't need to analyze you. They feel the signals. And when those signals tell them, this one bends, this one shrinks, this one mirrors, you vanish from their field of attention. They don't hate you. They don't judge you. They simply don't notice you. And that's worse, because when power forgets you, so does opportunity. So does influence. So does the world. But when you kill these habits, something changes. The air around you thickens. People pause before speaking to you. They ask you questions differently. They correct their tone without being asked. Not because you demanded respect, but because you removed every habit that made you ignorable. What's left is presence. And presence is what the powerful cannot afford to overlook. You don't become visible to powerful people by trying to be seen. You become visible by becoming undeniable. Most people beg for attention. They perform. They soften. They seek approval with every movement, every phrase, every nervous smile. They think visibility is something to ask for. Machiavelli knew the truth. Visibility is claimed, not granted. And the moment you drop the behaviors that dilute your presence, the world begins to react. Not because you got louder, but because you stopped signaling weakness. The final 4 habits dig deepest into your identity. They are core leaks, the kind that define whether you're taken seriously or erased. The 10th habit is constantly seeking emotional safety in conversation. You enter a room and immediately look for friendly eyes. You read everyone's tone before speaking. Measure their facial reactions to every word and adjust mid-sentence, softening your opinions or walking back your honesty. You do this because deep down you want everything to stay smooth. You're addicted to emotional safety. But here's the Machiavellian reality. He who fears conflict will always serve the one who doesn't. Real power creates tension without blinking. They enter spaces and say things that unsettle. They ask questions that challenge. They allow discomfort to hang in the air because they are not dependent on emotional smoothness. When you are constantly trying to keep things nice, you become a social janitor, cleaning up the mess at the cost of your own presence. Let people feel uncomfortable around you. Let your words land heavy. Let silence stretch. Let the moment breathe, even if it burns a little. Because when you show no fear of emotional chaos, people instinctively begin to respect you. Not because they like you, but because they can't move you. And that's the beginning of influence. The 11th habit is avoiding taking up physical space. You sit with your legs crossed, shoulders inward. You minimize hand gestures and shrink into the corner. This isn't humility. It's submission through posture. It's your body saying, I'm not a threat, don't mind me. Machiavelli believed that every room is an arena, and in every arena, your body speaks before your words ever arrive. The powerful see that guy in the corner with the perfect opinions and no spatial presence as irrelevant. Because if your body doesn't claim the environment, your words will never matter. Sit like you belong. Unfold your arms. Keep your chin parallel and shoulders squared. Don't flinch when eyes turn to you. Let attention rest on you like it's natural. The body trains the mind. And when your posture commands presence, your energy begins to match. You're no longer in the room. You're anchoring it. The 12th habit is over-identifying with good intentions. This one's brutal because most people are convinced their good intentions will carry them. They think, I didn't mean to sound weak, I meant well. The power doesn't care what you meant. It only responds to what you signal. Over-identifying with your good heart creates a blind spot. You assume others should see your depth, your potential, your kindness. But Machiavelli would laugh. Goodness without perception is useless. Intentions are silent. Signals are everything. Powerful people don't decode your soul. They respond to behavior. If you come off as needy or apologetic, they don't go hunting for the reason. They just decide you're not sharp enough, not present enough, not ready. Stop thinking you'll be rewarded for what you meant. Start owning how you come across. Adjust your behavior, not just your intentions, because the ones who rise are not the kindest. They are the ones whose presence commands perception. The 13th and deepest flaw of all is treating influence like something to be earned. You believe that influence must be earned first, that you must prove yourself, wait your turn, serve long enough, and be liked enough, and then maybe you'll be taken seriously. But Machiavelli would tell you this. Influence is never earned. It is assumed, and if assumed with enough conviction, it becomes real. Those who carry power walk into new rooms with the unshakable posture of someone who is already someone. You just haven't realized it yet. Not arrogant, not loud, just anchored. They don't ask for attention. They don't wait for credit. They move like the room should adjust to them, not the other way around. Stop thinking your work speaks for itself. It doesn't. Stop waiting for approval, to act like you matter. Start moving like someone who knows the spotlight is inevitable. When you treat influence like something to be claimed, you become the kind of person others start watching before they know why. And that is when you become visible. Not because you fought for it, but because your existence could no longer be ignored. You've now seen the full picture. 13 subtle habits, each one quietly erasing you from the minds of those who could elevate, empower, or open doors. The tragedy is you've probably carried these habits for years. Not because you're weak, but because no one ever told you they were invisible armor with holes in it. But now you know. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow what your smile, tone, posture, and reactions are saying when you think you're being polite or blending in for safety. You're not blending. You're fading. And the room doesn't care unless you stop hiding in humility. Stop leaking insecurity through manners and stop shrinking yourself in the name of peace. When you drop these habits, something happens. You don't just enter the room. The room registers you, and when it does, power starts shifting. Eyes start adjusting because suddenly there's a presence they can't ignore. A man who carries no apology, no softness, no hesitation, only weight, only stillness, only signal. And in Machiavelli's world, that's how kings are made. You were never meant to be invisible. But the world teaches invisibility early. Don't be too loud. Don't make others uncomfortable. Be nice. Be patient. Wait your turn. So you complied. You softened your presence. You dulled your tone. You made your power easier to digest until even you forgot it was there. But Machiavelli would call this what it truly is. Self-eraser. Not humility, not nobility, but a slow and subtle death of presence. The powerful were taught differently, or they unlearned what the world taught them. They realized that presence is not earned by years of loyalty or by silently doing good work or by waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, "Now it's your time." They understood something most people never will. Visibility is not given to the best. It is taken by the bold. And that kind of boldness doesn't show. It doesn't perform. It doesn't fake. It stands still, certain, unapologetically solid in its own identity. Now, look back at all 13 habits. Every single one was a micro-surrender, a gesture, a word, a movement that said, "I don't trust my value, so I'll cushion it, I'll explain it, I'll adjust it." But that era ends now. This isn't about becoming arrogant. It's about becoming undeniable. You want to be seen by powerful people. You want to command respect in every room. You want opportunity to find you without chasing. Then you must begin the full eraser of these 13 habits from your posture, from your tone, from your instinctive reactions, and replace them with edge, with weight, with presence so sharp it makes people second guesses how they speak to you. Here's what that looks like. You walk into a room not fast, not slow, but with the energy of a man who's not looking for anything. You speak when you decide to, not when invited. You let your sentences end in silence, not questions. You don't seek warmth, you radiate gravity. You don't mirror, you anchor. You don't rush to fill the gaps. You let the silence test them. And when someone tries to size you up, whether through sarcasm, condescension, or playful challenge, you don't get defensive. You don't laugh nervously. You don't adjust. You just look at them. Calm, cold, composed, as if to say, "You can't categorize me. You don't know what I'll tolerate. You don't know what I'm capable of." And that uncertainty is the only thing keeping you safe. Because that's what visibility to the powerful really is. Not approval, not praise, not validation. It's volatility. The feeling that if they ignore you, they might regret it. That if they underestimate you, they could be wrong, very wrong. And so they watch. They hesitate. They ask what you think. They give you space. They listen longer than they should. They study your reactions not because you forced them to, but because you left no other option. So from this moment on, never again believe that politeness is your currency. It's presence, and presence is built by subtraction. You subtract apology. You subtract explanation. You subtract approval seeking. You subtract softness that hasn't been earned. What remains? The real you, undeniable, unshakable, unignorable. Because once these habits are gone, there is no more dilution, no more camouflage, only signal, only force, only the silent gravity of someone who doesn't perform power. He simply is power. And when that's who you become, even the most powerful in the room will feel it. Because you're no longer just in the room. You've become the center of it without even trying.